All right. What's up, everyone in the chat? Say what's up. Let me know you're there. If you're if you were here earlier, you get the unique experience of hearing or watching me stream 2 days in a row, which hopefully is or two no not 2 days in a row, 2 times in one day. I was streaming just a couple of hours ago with Twilio to do the Twilio quest walkthrough, which was a lot of fun. Co-Stacker's here. Co-Stacker is in a YouTube group in Discord. YouTube programmers, I think is the name. So it's a really cool group that was started recently. I guess it's been a couple months. I don't know, but welcome. Thanks for being here. WebDev Charlie, hello. Chris is in the chat as well. And I'll let you give a few minutes for people to walk in. But Knut is joining me from Sanity today for part 4, which is kind of it's kind of hard to believe, I guess, that I've done this 4 times and you were on the last one and now you're back again. So I actually we were talking about this earlier, wrote an article about getting started with Sanity and did a video. And I talked to a couple about like my favorite features, but also it was just the fact that your team was so engaged. One of the co-founders had reached out to me and like sent me some messages and really gave me some clarity on the pricing structure and what it could do. And then obviously you've been heavily involved with all the streams so far. And the first one, you and a couple of other people were absolute lifesavers because I got to a point where I really would have been stuck. So that was really like one of the most impactful things was just having your engagement and support was really meant a lot. And that was the big reason why I decided to go with Sanity over any of the other like several different headless CMS options there are.
That's great to hear. Also because that's like the fun part of this job, like helping people out, meeting people, see what they do with this thing that we made.
That's what DevRel is all about. I mean, for me, I'm assuming you feel the same way. Like this, there's no other type of job role that I would rather have right now. And it looks like people can see my. Can I hide this Zoom thing? People don't want to see that, do you? I think maybe it'll go away.
What's the Zoom thing?
You can't unless you're watching the stream. You can see it in the stream. It just went away, so I think we're good. Yeah. Although now you can still see the little thing at the top. I guess it's okay. Well, whatever.
The little Zoom green thingy. Yeah.
And Full Stack Live has rated with a party of 7. What's up, Full Stack Live? How's it going? Full Stack Live, what were you working on before you got here? And Julian, I don't know what the like make me a sandwich thing is.
It's XKCD comic thing. Okay. Yeah.
That's one of the things that I like. I feel like I never fit in with KC or say what's the abbreviation?
KCD.
KCD.
XKCD, right?
XKCD, yeah. Yes. And the reason I stumbled is because I spoke at Kansas City Developer Conference last year, which is KCDC, and I always get confused. But very cool.
I have a signed copy of the first book
of XKCD.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I have like almost never read them. I've seen like 1 or 2, and I feel like out of place a lot because they make jokes about it, and I just don't get them.
There's actually sort of I think it's a wiki that explains every of the comics.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. That way, even more, or
because they can be a bit obscure.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'll post a link in the chat.
Sweet. And Full Stack Live was working on a Ruby chatbot library. Very sweet. That's a lot of fun. I've used Ruby before with Ruby on Rails, and Ruby as a language just didn't quite click with me. I've said this before, maybe on this channel or not, I don't know. And I kind of struggle with Ruby itself, but Ruby on Rails is one of the coolest frameworks just because of the scaffolding. Like I just want to build stuff and like build it quickly. So like having a framework like Ruby on Rails do some of that stuff for me was really awesome.
There's like have you seen the demo that the HH did when they sort of launched it?
I don't think so.
There's a 15-minute demo of him like setting up a blog, and it's like
in minutes.
It's wild. Yeah. I don't think we have a thing that matches that. I tried to copy it with Sanity. I think it's stretched into like 20 minute ish.
Okay.
But yeah, it's crazy inspiring.
There's just so much boilerplate in the world where it's like I don't really want to have to rewrite that or come up with it myself. I don't know. So I'm a huge fan of the framework, and yeah, just struggled with the language, which hopefully I don't get too much flack for that. Well, now you're curious what Sanity is. Well, let me say hi to Lone Wolf, who said hi, and I think we'll don't have any Sanity yourself. Fair enough. Well, let's go ahead and like officially get started, I guess. So I kind of want to make sure I do this with start of streams. If you're new to the channel, I've got some branding and stuff on here, but I'm James Quick. James Q Quick is kind of the brand that I go through, and website, social media stuff you can find there. I do want to give a shout out to, I work for a company called Auth0, and we do identity services for developers. So this is basically, our goal is to make it as easy as possible for you, the developer, to incorporate very secure authentication and authorization into your application. So that's what I do for a day job. You'll see more of that type content. You'll also see me more on the Auth0 channel, which is twitch.tv/AUTH0. Let me grab a link and I'll throw that in the chat as well, just so you have it. We are really ramping up. We've got a stream with Gatsby planned for the 5th, which I'm really excited about, talking about securing or adding authentication to your Gatsby applications. Definitely register for that one. We will then go on the Gatsby channel to be a part of their channel, which will be a lot of fun. And then we've got several booked out past that. So go check out the Twitch channel for Auth0. And I guess I've got Knut with me from Sanity. And if you want to, you can introduce yourself, and then also maybe give, like, for anybody that's brand new to Sanity, maybe the 1 or 2 liner about what it is. And then I'll tie that back into what we've been doing and what we're trying to accomplish today.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Knut. That's a Norwegian name. I'm a DevRel at Sanity. Sanity is a platform for structured content. You can use it as a headless CMS or as a real-time content backend for your apps or a lot of things. The common denominator is that you want to treat content as data, because that's awesome.
Is there a sticker for treat content as data because it's awesome? Can we get
there
that
should
sticker?
be, or a t-shirt,
yeah,
or something.
If you end up doing the shirt or a sticker, please send me one so I can advertise that myself. Sweet. And so I guess like maybe this will make more sense later on, but it's really interesting. We haven't really talked about Sanity in the scope of not a headless CMS in terms of like interacting with it at a build time, but you could also interact with it real time, just like you would have a traditional database. I guess, I mean, that is obviously an option. I just hadn't thought to do that because we've been focused on like static sites and headless CMS here.
Yeah, it's interesting because, so with CMSs, you tend to have this problem of document locking. Either that you can't be multiple authors in the same document at once, or you can't have integrations doing stuff with the data when you're like working on it. So that's why we built sort of a real-time backend from the get-go. Sweet. To make it more like sweet and effortless to actually do stuff like that, and don't worry about race conditions and so on.
Cool.
So that's where the real-time thing comes in.
Nice. I had no idea. Like I said, we haven't even like just talked about that topic or that use case. That's really cool. So I guess we'll go back to the general use case of what we're looking at here. So I'm running a local copy of my personal site, which is jamesqquick.com. And my site runs on Gatsby. Let me know in the chat, any React and or Gatsby developers in the chat, leave me a comment and let me know. If you're new to either one of those, I guess just let me know your experience with either one of those. New experience, some projects, none, in the chat. And so that's what my site uses. Gatsby is I need to stop saying Gatsby is a static site generator. Gatsby can be, one of the things that it can do is statically generate pages. I think they really want to be clear that they're not limiting themselves to that scope. So I need to help them in that branding of saying it's not just a static site generator. That's just something it can do. And it's one of the things that is probably most well known for at this point. We got React, if I'm saying that correctly, React, Gatsby, and Sanity Dev. What? Welcome. So Gatsby static in this case, for what we're talking about, create static pages. And what it does is at a build time, it will go to a data source of some sort, grab all of that data, generate the pages for, in this case, maybe like blog posts. You can see I've got a blog here, and it'll generate the individual pages for these things. So what I had been doing is using embedded Markdown files, and you should come back to the channel tomorrow, where we'll talk about headless CMS versus embedded CMS, which is kind of what we're talking about here. But I used Markdown files embedded in my source code for my individual blog posts. So you can see like this is the actual blog post, and it's really not that bad. I think for me, it's like some small things of I wanted a GUI to be able to do like metadata, like things like copying in a date. Having a date picker to provide that for you instead of just like me typing in the date string is actually really, really nice. And that's one of the things obviously you'll see in Sanity Studio in a second. So all in all, what we're doing, and this is part 4, is migrating my site from Markdown files to Sanity as a backend. And I'm there in the sense, and I haven't told you this yet, Knut. I'm there in the sense that like my site in production is actually using Sanity. I went ahead and pushed it, and I'm really proud of the streaming page, which people should check out. I finally got these up with the graphics and things, so you can see the upcoming streams. I've got to add a lot more. This is using Sanity as the headless CMS behind everything. That's all in production. The only caveat is for the blog posts, I am not using the rich text stuff, or the portable text, sorry, yet. I'm still using just the Markdown in just like a text area input, and then rendering that myself. So that's the only thing. There's a couple of smaller things. That's the main thing that I'm missing here. And in the last video, last stream, we talked about what portable text is. It's a standard for that Sanity created, that Sanity uses to basically store rich text in a JSON object. And the implications of that, and I'm seeing how good I am at the Sanity pitch here, is like because you get access to objects in JavaScript, you can really have full control over how you render those things and do custom components on how you render them and so on and so on. So what we're looking at is taking that portable text and now in this stream going to display those to the screen, figure out how to render those in React. The last thing I want to share is on my YouTube channel, you can start to see there's a playlist, which actually I guess I'll find the playlist link later. But on my YouTube channel, the latest video I did was getting started with Sanity. So if you need some extra background, you can look at that. Also, the previous 3 streams are on the playlist with that same video. So you can go and get those as well. And did we have some experience with React? But I've heard great things about Gatsby. Gatsby is amazing. Web Dev Charlie using Gatsby for all projects and don't want to use WordPress. Fair enough. Experience React and Gatsby Dev. Sanity novice here. Cool. And then Web Dev Charlie, been hearing great things about Sanity, so very curious. Yeah, everything you probably, if you follow me on Twitter or anything, everything I've done has been super positive, especially with obviously the support from the Sanity team. I feel like I'm talking a lot. So let's go ahead and actually just like get into it. What we've got is my Gatsby project is here. It's running locally. My Sanity project is here and it's running locally as well. And I can open up the Sanity Studio at port 333. And this will open. And under my posts, you can see I've copied over all of my posts. And what I've done is added all the metadata or fields that I need for my post objects. And then I've basically just copied into, again, a text area. Like here's all of the Markdown in this body thing. What we're moving to is getting all that information put into a section that we're calling main content. And we define that inside of our post. Let's see. Inside of our post schema, we have a main content here, which is of type rich text. Now, rich text is a type that's built in. And then with you might have to remind me, inside of the block content. Oh, so we define the rich text here.
Exactly.
Right. And then we added a few custom things where there's a built-in type of block. So these are basically different things that this input can accept. We can add regular block things. I'll show in a second. We can add an image, which we customized a little bit. And then also a code editor, which is a plugin that we included so that we could come into the main content editor, and now I can open this in the full screen. This is really one of the big benefits for me. This looks really nice. I get headings and am I typing? My keyboard locked? Oh, there we go. It's just a little slow. I get bold, italics, underline, all that kind of stuff. All of everything here to here is built in with the block type.
Yeah, that's defaults for the block type.
Sweet. And then we get into the awesome image. So we can add images in line. And do I have a finder? I think we tried. Let me open up my finder. Where is it? We tried. I'll share with everyone my like desk setup. If I copy an image and then go to my awesome image, I can paste a file right in there. Or did I break it? Did that not work? Let me try that again.
Should work.
I think my browser is lagging.
Seems like something is going on.
Yeah, my browser just like completely froze on me. Let me see if I can get that. Okay, so it's uploading. And this was from, again, I didn't have to select this image. This was just like a paste of an image. This is also a super high res image, which may not be the best thing to do like real time because I probably wouldn't do that. But this is my like desk setup. So I could paste it in right there, and that image will be inside of here.
Actually, we kind of want you to upload the highest resolution image, because then you can take advantage of the asset pipeline, because you can request exactly the dimension and format and so on you want. So there shouldn't be a problem unless you are worried about storage.
Well, I probably, for a blog post, me personally, I would probably rather upload a lower res because it's not that important to be that high res.
Makes sense. Yeah.
If I post in a tweet or something, Twitter can take care of the the size of the image. In this case, since I am maybe not paying is the right word because I'm free tier, but responsible for the size of the images, I would probably still do something smaller. But that's a good point. The larger the image that you give, the more that you can take advantage of scaling and different things with working with images.
Yeah. So one of our like first, I guess, sort of enterprise customers is like a really renowned architecture firm called OMA, and they have like all their projects in Sanity, and they have like these large scale TIFF images, right? So they want them on the website, but they're also making books for clients. So when they have like a sales meeting, the prospective customer goes out with an actual book, a portfolio that they published in-house during that meeting.
Oh wow.
Just selecting like stuff from Sanity in a tool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So stuff like that.
Interesting.
Where this asset pipeline is handy.
Very cool. Yeah, and like we'll do for the most part, what I'm setting up and what we've been talking about is a basic setup for using it as a headless CMS. But I imagine there's so many creative things you can do that we won't even touch on. All right, I want to test out one of the features that we talked about last time, and that is the ability to, if I come to the deployed version of this, and I can copy all of this HTML. I think this is what we did before, and this is basically like what I learned in a course called Introduction to the JAMstack. And yeah, fingers crossed. In theory, I can take that HTML I just dragged and copied it. Now I can paste it into the editor, and it looks pretty good. What Sanity has done, or what it's able to do, is go ahead and translate this to things like H2 tags. I've got links in here, and inline inline code, like the single.
I think it's actually code. Yeah.
Okay, the single backtick thing. And I don't have any images in this one, so there may or may not have been an issue with one with images. We can test that after. And then we've got code snippets, and I'm wondering, these code snippets that it copied in, these probably are not the actual like converted to the code thing that we're trying to use. Is that right?
Yeah, so those would be like the inline code thing, because the paste handler that comes out of the box doesn't know that you have sort of this custom code block thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you can override that with a custom paste handler to make it work actually. But that's another stream, I think. Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. We do have a question in the chat, which I would love to hear the answer. Christina Yamas is saying, how would you do this programmatically? Do you have to do each post manually? I'm going to give a quick answer, and then you're going to correct and or add on to it.
Sure.
You could work with the Sanity API and do your own conversion yourself, and you could copy over the data in any way that makes sense for you. That's not what I'm doing. It's especially when I can do this, it's going to be relatively simple for like 15 posts for me to just like drag and copy over and then do a few manual things. But I think the answer is going to be you have full control over it. You can interact with it like any other API and just do your translation layer and update or upload the data that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways to do this. The Sanity CLI has an import tool. So if you give it a bunch of JSON documents, you can just like import those right up to the data store. And you can also like give it image paths to a local or a remote file, and it will also deal with that stuff. When it comes to like Markdown, if you want the Markdown into the portable text spec, you need to transform that before like uploading the JSON. And I have like made a tool for this. It's not like super refined, but it kind of works. And this like making it easier to get HTML content into portable text and stuff, that is something we are working on making greater tools for. But this one you can use in meanwhile, and always like join our Slack channel if you need help, and we will help you.
And I'll give you the plug that I forgot to do earlier before I actually close the tab. Is Sanity is starting to do streaming, and they are on Twitch at twitch.tv /sanity_IO. And like I said, just to kind of reiterate like what I've said in the past, their engagement has been so crucial in my decision to work with Sanity. And I'm super excited to see them start this effort. I think you mentioned you were going to do like office hours, which is great. Maybe that's something that we might rip off from you to do all zero office hours, because
That's our idea.
Yeah. It's just such a great idea, because having you in my first stream drastically changed the amount of time and my happiness with the conversion, if that makes sense. So anyway, check that out. They are, I think, just brand new to this, and they will definitely be worth following and checking out. And by the way, I'm going to keep going. I'll keep an eye on the chat. If you have other questions about Sanity that we're skipping over just because this is a part 4, let us know as well, and we'll try to address those too. But I want to go through all of this post is basically just text, except for I'm okay with all of these inline ones. I want to use the custom code block. So what I'm thinking is for each one of these, I can copy it, and then I can just like come down, do code editor default, paste in the code, and that probably didn't paste in very well, and do JavaScript.
I see some missing lines, it seems.
Okay.
Oh, it would be nice with like a prettier.
Oh no, and that just backed me out of rats. Let me go back. The good thing, and I've learned this the hard way, the good way, is that Sanity is constantly saving all of your stuff, I'm assuming just in local storage. Or maybe it's doing real time to the... Okay, so it's saving constantly. You make the decision when you want to publish. The implications of that are really insanely cool if you go back and watch one of the previous streams of like me running my dev site locally. It can real time update with changes from Sanity. Wildly cool.
And if I were to have like the same studio or being logged in, I would see your changes instantly. So it's like you have like Google Docs all over your CMS.
Yep. Yeah, it is. That was like mind-blowingly cool to me. And let me...
This seems like TOML. Do we even have that syntax?
Oh, this is not JavaScript. This is TOML. Probably not. It's pretty specific.
We should do something with that.
Okay.
Or like we need to publish a new update to the plugin. Plain text will probably be
plain text will work. Yeah, so this is with a Netlify TOML file. And so there's that thing there, and then I could come in and delete this. Oops. delete that part. So that looks okay. And sorry for the tediousness of this. Or actually, I might. It's only 2 more, so I'll do the rest of these, and then we'll keep going. So I'm gonna cut that, open up the text editor, do JavaScript, and paste that in. And it looks like I've got some more. Let's see. Let's move that down, and then that can actually stay in one line anyway. And this is not like, that's not valid JavaScript, which is why it's giving me an error, which is actually really nice, because if I paste in snippets that should make sense, now Sanity will tell me real time, hey, that doesn't make sense. And then this one is the last one. This is a tip that I learned in that course, was about currying. Is that something you had heard about, Knut?
I heard about it. Have I used it? I'm not sure. Yeah.
It's not as, I would have imagined it was much more complicated than it is. It's basically just a function that then returns a function.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So
when would you need to have that?
So the use case in here is like, if you're in React, if you're defining a callback function, you can use currying, where the handle input change will take a value of the name. So that's the name of the property that you're working with that you want to update. And then it will return a function that then takes E as its event. So what this will do is this calls this function, which then returns this thing. And for the callback, you want a function that can accept the parameter E to be your e.target.value. And since it returns that function, at the end of the day, what gets in here is just a function that takes in a parameter, but then also has the original name property in its scope. That makes sense.
And saves you a bit of repetition and so on.
Yep.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. So I thought that was super cool. It, like, at the end of the day, it's really simple. A function that returns a function, but the implication was really, really interesting. Dardub says it says that they use that a lot in functional programming, which I think makes sense. I'm a big JavaScript person. I haven't necessarily done like a ton of just like pure functional programming, if that makes sense, or not intentionally.
So you can't explain monads?
Monads? No, I cannot.
It's like the joke in functional. It's a thing in functional programming that's really hard to explain.
Okay. Well, then no, I cannot.
Perhaps the chat can explain.
Yeah.
What is monads?
And then we've got Vic in the chat who says, hello world.
Yeah, also, that's my colleague. That's Victoria.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that is Victoria.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who, Victoria, I was asking about you earlier, just because I saw your name as one of the followers on the Sanity channel, and you had commented on a post on Twitter. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for sharing the post that I did the other day. Thanks for being here.
Bit of fun fact, Victoria is actually working on something called Presence, which is like avatars of where people are.
Okay.
If there are multiple people in the studio, you will see in which fields and so on they are working.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So that's coming.
So that would be, I mean, talking about Google Docs earlier, like the real time, you can see like where their cursor is and stuff. That's cool. Couple of Brad says nobody knows what they are, but it gets the people going. Fair enough. Chris Salt and Burnham says no idea what that is, which is fair. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, thanks again for people that are active and here in the chat. Cool. So I think with no images on this one, this is probably enough to go ahead and go into the Gatsby layer and start to use this property. Does that sound right? Cool. Let me close this. I think I could publish it and it wouldn't hurt anything in production because I'm not querying that property in production, but I won't necessarily do it right now. And I like that. I really like this. This is probably an underrated thing that I missed, is the ability to have this tagged as a draft and for it to not go to production. I really was struggling with myself. I was using front matter, like published as a Boolean, and then querying out based on that, which is okay. Anyway, so I really like, it's just visual. It shows you the publish button is big. It's like not grayed out because there is something that has changed, and that's really nice. Anyway.
And have you discovered like the history view?
No, I haven't. Where?
So if you go ahead and you can go there, or you can like push the updated 3 minutes ago thing below the badges.
Oh, sweet. Updated 3 minutes ago. Oh, what? So it is, I mean, How is that a custom algorithm that you came up with internally? Is it using like
So
it's almost like
what
Git, right? Like because that's
it's
one of the
actually almost like Git,
okay.
because what happens actually when you type in the studio is that we send a patch, like the update, like the
Mm-hmm.
it's almost on each keystroke, and that will get saved in the data store. So we have like a whole transaction log of your whole data set, every state. And then we are able to extract the history from that, and we chunk it a bit because it's not useful to have like every keystroke
Uh-huh.
in the thing.
Sure.
What you're doing now is a bit embarrassing at the moment, because we are
Okay.
using event stream. So that means that when you type, there's a lot of requests going on here.
That's what I was gonna look
Yeah.
at to see. Yep, you can see.
Um, Not all of them are like, there's some options requests and so on, but uh, like we are actually now converting the system into WebSockets,
Okay.
which means
Yeah.
that
To
it
just keep the
will
real time connection.
drastically reduce the
Yep.
amount of requests this studio uses. So
Sweet.
that will be awesome. Yeah.
That's I'm really so it's so much better to make a connection with someone with a given product because you get a little bit of insight into what's coming and some of the details about like how things work. That's really cool. I didn't know about history. That's super nice. I wonder if like competitor headless CMSs are they do they commonly have history? Is that a unique feature?
I think revision history is fairly like a feature that one have.
Okay.
I should also mention that we have retention. The reason we built sort of this thing was to be GDPR compliant,
Okay.
because we used to just save everything, and then we have to actually also be able to forget things and have
Sure.
retention. And
Yeah.
out of that, this API came, because you
Okay.
can also query this as an API, of course.
Sweet. That's cool. Um, okay, that's really nice. And Victoria was going history, history, history
Yeah.
in the chat. So I'm assuming that's something that you're proud of, which is amazing to have. And then Narendev, who was here earlier in the chat with the Twitch stream or the Twilio stream, is back. What's up, Narendev? Okay, so this is saved. I love that it takes care of that for you. I don't have to think about it. Back inside, actually, let me double check one thing. In the Sanity Studio code, the property that we're looking at is called main content. So, maybe the easiest way to do this is to open up localhost 8000 and then the graphical layer. And let's just make sure that we're able to query this thing inside of here. And looks like, do I not have this video link? I might have changed that. I can't remember since the last time I ran a query. But inside of here, what do we call it? Main content?
Yeah, did you actually redeploy the GraphQL API since you made the fields?
Nope, probably not. So, and I don't have to stop the local version of Sanity to do that, I don't think. Let me see what the, is that script in here? Nope.
No, I can tell you.
QL
deploy, but space.
Space. Okay.
Yeah.
And what this will do is, this is one of the interesting things about Sanity is that you manage your own dashboard. So we haven't really said that yet. But you manage the dashboard, which means you get complete control over your dashboard. You can add all the customization that you want. And there's the potential burden or downside of you have to manage it and deploy it yourself, which is not that big of a deal, at least for me. Like I've actually already got it deployed, the GUI somewhere. But the main thing is you want to tell the backend that lives somewhere in Sanity the definition for your GraphQL endpoint. You want to make sure that as you make changes to the data that's supposed to be in there, you tell the backend, hey, this is the stuff that's supposed to be there. And that's what we're doing. So we're saying, go ahead and send out all the changes that we made to the API, send it to Sanity so that anyone that comes and like looks at what the schema looks like, it will get those latest fields. And that's what we are missing. So breaking changes, blocker image. I don't think I was using any of that. So I think I'm good. And I like that it warns you too if you're doing something a little bit iffy. It'll tell you.
Yeah. So and just perhaps to elaborate a bit,
Sure.
because Sanity comes with its own query language called Grok, which is a sort of SQL for JSON. And of course, people are also wanting GraphQL. So we also have to make a GraphQL API. And that API is actually powered by Grok. So underneath the hood, it's Grok queries. But what we did now is to make it possible for you to deploy several GraphQL APIs if you want to have sort of different versions or different endpoints where you expose different fields or types and so on. So that's where the tag comes in the CLI here. So you can like have your own app GraphQL API or whatever.
Okay, very cool. And while you were saying that, we got some comments in the chat also about GraphQL versus Grok. And I don't know the first thing or the last thing about Grok at this point, and I think this is what's so cool. And I think probably from the Sanity perspective, you had to at least have a GraphQL layer, just because all the other or so many other options have the same thing, and people are kind of expectant of it now. But it ties in naturally to the way that I'm already working with Gatsby. I'm using GraphQL. It's a pretty seamless integration to just swap out what I'm grabbing from where, because I'm still working with GraphQL. So it's definitely a plus that it's there. I just kind of take for granted that it's there because I was one of those people that expected it based on everything else that was going on.
People sometimes ask like Grok versus GraphQL. Like there are two different things actually. You can use them for the same things, but like the one is actually a query language. GraphQL it's called a query language, but it's more like a API pattern. And it is great for a lot of things, but Grok will let you actually query schemaless JSON. So you don't have to know the types and so on. And that is super flexible in a lot of cases. So Grok is sort of the primitive that we build other APIs on top of. So we will support both.
Cool.
Going forward.
And if people have their preference, go with it. As long as the tools work for you, none of the other stuff matters.
And Grok is also, of course, open source. Even the compiler that we had to make for it is open source.
Cool. Okay. Well, sounds like just Sanity in general has done some pretty innovative things and contributing those back to open source. So I'm going to refresh my graphical. By the way, I had to restart Gatsby, and that's because it's going out and getting those GraphQL definitions at start. So need to make sure that I restart that, and then back in here, hopefully now we see main content. And main content will be an object, and then inside of main content, we have to figure out what we want. And I'm going to guess at this, and then you can tell me what I actually want. I assume I want to get all the Sanity children, and then
before you dive too deeply into this, there's sort of like a gotcha or a thing that we have to fix, and that is that portable text isn't like fully GraphQL compliant in the sense of it's like typed in the way GraphQL wants you to type it. So with Gatsby, we sort of have to do it's sort of a hack, but it works. And that is these raw fields that you see, underscore raw fields, a bit like above this thing. So if you like unclick the things you have clicked, unselect, yeah, that's a better word. And if you go a bit up to the underscore raw fields, underscore raw main content.
I think somebody just walked in my house. I didn't know they were there.
Oh, you know. Oh, everyone knows.
People working in the bathroom back there.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for raw main content.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what this will give you is the like whole JSON blob. So if you just query this,
this will just dump out the whole thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's also a function method, I don't know, called resolve references.
Yep.
So what this will do, if you have references within block content, like if you have like sort of an internal link or whatever, or an image and so on, that will sort of make sure that you have that data as well. Okay. So it will resolve any reference that appears within your portable text.
Okay. Will I need that for this example, for this post?
Probably not for this post.
Okay.
But it's good to know about.
Okay. Fair enough. So what we're looking at now is basically this whole long array.
Yeah.
Or this one, I guess. Yeah, is the portable text, and so this is rich text, just basically packed into a JSON object. And then what we're going to do inside of Gatsby, we're going to query that property, and then we're going to define the serializers to translate that into either React components or just like regular DOM elements, I think, also, right?
Yeah, it will be JSX components, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Petition to bring the dog onto the stage. Give me a second. I'll get a dog. Lily, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. All right, as I've got my headphones back on. So this is Lily. And then on the ground, who you probably can't see, is Padfoot, who is much older, so I can't just pick her up. And she's a lot heavier. And then we have Sevi is the youngest one, who is, I think she's in her crate right now. Stream just leveled up, yeah. I've actually thought about like tying in some sort of fun thing with the dogs on the stream. Like you could give a command and I can go grab a dog or something. All Harry Potter names, by the way, if you're a Harry Potter fan out there. I'm a big Harry Potter nerd myself, so.
How big of a Harry Potter nerd are you?
Pretty big. The first thing that I ever built, programming wise, was a Harry Potter trivia app on Android, which like way beyond my wildest expectations got like 30,000 downloads over the course of several years.
So what is my name? What is my name in sort of the Harry Potter universe?
Money.
Okay, you are.
And I think I've heard them pronounce it, but it's just a nut. And actually, that's what I thought. I didn't know if that was how you pronounce your name or not until the first time we talked as a preparation for our first stream, because I wanted to make sure that I didn't say nut inappropriately on the stream and make sure I get your name right. So, looks like
I have a beef with the author about this. Makes huge problems for me in the States, actually. Yeah.
Fair enough. I think we got. Maybe I'll find a cool way to like tie in the dogs. I actually like Lily is really well trained and can do tricks and stuff. So maybe I'll do like a Lily trick at some point. Anyway, Will is in the chat. What's up, Will? Chris Salt and Burnham says Supernatural. Yes, big Supernatural fan. It's one of my favorite shows. Top 5 actually. People from the Corgi chat are here. That's really cool. And I don't know about Knut Rockna. I don't know who that is. Asking about that in the chat. Yeah, I don't know who that is. All right, if you want to Google that, go ahead. I'm going to come back over to Gatsby, and I'm going to look at inside of my blog post template. This is the post that's actually going to render all of the actual blog post itself. So what I want to do is come down to the GraphQL query. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so we can see more of it. And then grab the raw main content. I'm going to grab that so that we can pull it into our query. Grab that thing. And then I'm going to log that out just to make sure we're getting it. So when we get our post data, it will be this thing. And I want to log post dot underscore raw main content. And so all I'm doing, if you're not familiar with Gatsby, is did a GraphQL query, a page query. So it does a GraphQL query. It grabs the information that we need. It passes it into here as the data property on props, and I could destructure that and so on and so on. But all I'm doing is basically reformatting that thing into the format that I want by copying over every piece of information and then customizing the slug and the tags just to fit the structure that I want in the object. And at this point, I should have raw main content. So if I save this and come back over to the blog running locally and open up this page and inspect, go to the console, hopefully we get an array here of 37 things. And now this is where we're going to get into, we need to take these things, translate them into something that Gatsby/React can understand and display.
Exactly. So if we like wanted to have a bit of fun, we could of course like code that serializer ourselves. So it would need to like recursively verse all these
Oh
objects
no, yeah.
and children and so on.
Which sounds
So
not so much fun.
um, that is what you have to do to get a job at Sanity. No, it isn't. It sounds like sort of Google
Mm-hmm.
interview thing, right?
Yep.
But
And I'm
we
definitely
have
not definitely not wanting to do a Google interview question right now live.
but we have done it for you, of course. So there's packages for most of the popular front end frameworks and so on, and we are in React, so we want a package called block content to React, because portable text was called block content, and we haven't changed it yet. We
Okay.
will, but for the time being, it's block content to React.
Fair enough. And so there's nothing, there's not a Gatsby plugin officially, so I just need to make sure that I go ahead and install this thing like I would any other package.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's just a React package. You can use it in any
Okay.
React project.
So I killed the server, installing that now. Missing anything in the chat? Football player and coach at Notre Dame. Okay. Pronounced Canute, which is how you pronounce your name, right?
Yeah.
Someone said senior dev versus junior dev. Is that because am I a junior dev because I bailed out of taking the Google Live coding challenge? Because if that's what makes me a junior dev, then that's fine. So what's going on behind me? The reason Lily started barking is we're having work done in our bathroom, like completely remodeled, right on the other side of this wall. And they had gone, I think, to pick up the tile, and I guess they got the tile and are now back. And like we have so many people, or not so many people at a time, but just so frequently coming in to get back there that the door is just kind of open, and they come and do what they need to. So, all right, so that looks like that installed, or that installed and then ran, and then just trying to look at what I've got here. So. We may need to reference the project ID in the data set. This will just tell.
No, in this example, it's just used to fetch data.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Client.fetch. Got it. And then I'm assuming what we need to do is define the serializers and then use block content like this and pass it which serializers we want to work with. Okay.
Pretty much.
Cool. I'm going to copy, at some point, I'm going to put this into its own file. But for now, I'm just going to put this up top. And let's go and import the block content from the page like this. Make sure I don't get any errors down there. That looks okay. And then the last thing that we would do is actually use this somewhere in the layout. So I've got a post object. So actually this needs to go in the post thing. Darn. I'll paste it in for here, and then I'll move it in the appropriate place later on. Question from Dardub. Using block content to React goes outside of the Gatsby layer, doesn't it? Not sure exactly. Oh, you answered it. Okay, so no, it doesn't fetch data. It's just serializing. So it's just taking the input and converting it to React.
Yeah. So the array that you logged out is like, it's just objects. It's like JavaScript array with objects in it. This is just a component that translate that into React elements or components. Yeah.
Sweet.
I would perhaps alias that raw rich text thing.
That's exactly what I was about to do. And I think I'm already using, if I look over here, I think the raw Markdown stuff that I'm using, I'm already calling body. So I've already got the body property, so I can't replace all of that just for like the other stuff that is still using it. But I'll call it main content here. and just do props, data, sanity, post, dot, and then the all, oh, actually right there, the raw main content. Hopefully I did that correctly. And then, so this will actually duplicate that property. It will just like get rid of this thing. What would be a good way?
I would actually do it in the GraphQL query.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you could do that. That's much easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you can say main content colon and then like raw. So the opposite way. Just sort of just like you would do it in JavaScript. So ahead, like prepend the alias. Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure about the quotes, but I think that may work.
Okay. Cool. This is new for me. So let me change the way I'm logging this out, and let's just do post.main content. And let's see if we're getting this article. That's okay. Let me comment out. I'm not ready to use that yet. We will in a second. Now let's see if that is logging out appropriately. So make sure that refresh. I think it did a live reload already. Cool. So that's making it. Sweet. That worked. And then I guess we want to use this thing, and we want to use post dot main content. Before I look at it, these are the serializers that we've defined. Is there anything else we need to do inside of the serializers?
Not at the moment. Perhaps explain what is going on.
Okay. So we've got the different types. So if we get an element which is of type code, we basically have like a render function, as you're used to in React, of saying like, yeah, it's exactly what it is. It's basically a functional React component of taking in props, and that's all the information that you need to know. And then in this case, it's taking it and it's creating a pre, and then it's saying the language is the language, and then the code is the code. So yeah, this is just a straight translation of like, this is the object that we're getting, and this is how you render it. And I'm assuming all of the other things, like an H1, for example, those things are already taken care of by block content knows how to serialize those regardless. Like we only need to specify extra ones that are not default. Does that make sense?
Exactly. So it has some defaults for like the usual stuff. If you want to override that, if you want to like make linked headings or whatever, you can override that with like making your own function component for the block type.
And this just gets into the awesome message of, one, Sanity in general has so much customization, and then specifically portable content or portable text. You get full control over how you render these things. And a friend of mine just had it's something that Medium does, where they apparently you can have like universal bookmarks or like highlighted text in Medium. I don't know if people knew this. I had never seen it. And like portable text is a way to potentially do that, where you get full control over rendering certain things, and you could associate, like, one of the properties could be like, this is how many times this thing has been highlighted, and then display that yourself.
Yeah. Like that's a neat idea. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Yep. I didn't know that was possible, or I didn't know that existed inside of there. So the one other thing I'm thinking about is this will probably do everything we need for this post. For other ones that have images, we probably need another serializer for the image.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this should be up and running. And did I put it outside of my layout? No, it's still inside of the layout. Block content. And
do you have like a post component?
Does it? Yes, but the layout, I think I do have a post component.
I see.
Thought maybe I'm off, and the post component actually does the container. Let me look in the post here, and does it wrap everything? Yeah, sorry, it does wrap everything in a container. So I'm just gonna go ahead and actually move this stuff over, because I did a lot of refactoring to basically standardize for all the different things that I have, like streams and blog and speaking. these are all basically this page that's on here is all going through that post. So they all use the same thing. So I'll go ahead and move this stuff over. So with our blog post template, I want to take my serializers and put it over in post. So there's the serializers. And then we'll take this thing and move this over here. And then at the bottom, I don't need to log out main content. What I want to do is pass the post to there, and then I'll take this thing and put this inside of the post itself, and this will be down here. Where will this be? Actually, I'll just leave it up there at the top for now. And this will still get post main content and then serializers. What will happen if main content is an empty array? It will probably be fine, just not render anything?
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
Okay, let's save that, and let's see if that gets inside of here. So here's like the first version, and then if we scroll down, we should see the same thing again. Yeah. So, and anyone see any difference? I mean, this looks pretty straightforward. And now this is, I think there's some ways to customize the theme for the code that comes back.
Yeah, because now it's only like a pre-encode element, like HTML, but you can use something like Prism or Highlight JS or something like a front-end code highlighter to have syntax highlighting and all that good stuff.
Okay. How do you know right offhand how I would incorporate that?
I should, because I have done it on my blog. Let me just find the code.
Okay, and I'm gonna switch to sitting actually for a little bit. The beauty of an adjustable desk.
Let's see. So I too have a Gatsby blog. So
cool.
If people are curious about how I have done stuff, they can go and check out the code there. But let's see if I can find the module. Here it is. And I will share it in the Twitch chat.
And one of the things while you're doing that I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to conditionally render, because this will basically allow me, I want to give myself the ability to, like, I can have all of this stuff published and never migrate my Markdown stuff that I've already done, because since I have it working. So I'm just going to conditionally render if there's post main content, and I might need to check .length greater than 0 instead of just like if it's there, because I think it will be there regardless. And so I only want to display the block content if the main content length is greater than 0. And then otherwise, if that is not the case, then I want to render the stuff that I already had that I know was working. So just displaying the Markdown, and then I think that'll be this one. So I'm going to take a look at that really quickly. So this should be just one blog post. It looks good. It's got that code highlighting there. What we should notice if we come back to blog and then do something like React Router in 5 minutes, we should notice, well, unless I broke something, maybe it doesn't have a length property.
Yeah, because if it's not there, it's nil, and nil can't have a length.
Okay, so then I thought it would give an empty array, so we can just check we can just check that it's there.
This is GraphQL, so if the field doesn't have content, it will be nil.
Oh, okay, so that's specifically but it could, in theory, it could return an empty array, right? But it just...
Come to think of it, I don't think it will happen in this case.
Okay.
If it wasn't GraphQL, it would happen. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think so. I got like a getting started session with Andrew Mead on last Friday's stream, and we were talking about how to define your GraphQL layer in terms of what you return. And there was a way to specify that you will get an empty array at the very least. If there's anything in that empty array, it will be of this type. So for that specific example that we did, it guaranteed that you would get an array back, but that just obviously that's not how this GraphQL layer or the schema is working, which is totally fine. You just need to figure out which. So now, if there's no main content on one of these pages, that works. And actually, the code looks the same. So I don't know. Maybe it's my styling that's doing this. The little, like, I don't know what that double thing is. That might
There's
be
a way to find out
by inspecting.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see if I can force this to scroll. There we go. Okay. While we're looking at this, how are we doing in the chat? Is this the kind of stuff that you were interested in seeing, or is it making sense? And do you have any questions? Let us know in the chat. And so I think you're saying go to the inspector. There's a pre, and then a code, language JavaScript.
Seems like there were some pre-styling, at least.
Yeah. And maybe, yeah, I guess that's just me. But I don't think I did the double thing. I'm not sure where the double one came from. Like, is it artist?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm not sure where that's coming from. Code Stacker, thanks for the support. Code Stacker and I think we're scheduled to record our first YouTube collaboration video this weekend, which I'm super excited about. So yeah, thanks for being here just in general too. And then Ken Jazzy, that's a cool name. This is great. Working with portable text is always fun and always a little bit confusing. Yeah, I do want to add, and I think like as a piece of advice to Sanity, from my perspective, that was a big hurdle for me to get past without having context from someone like you to help. So it, like, now that I know about it, I understand it. It is really, really incredible. When I first saw it and you saw me in the stream, probably just like freeze up. I was like, I don't know what the hell this is. You're overwhelming me right now. But it is so powerful. Once you get an introduction to it, you understand what's going on. I think you'll really like it. And then Sanity also obviously has like really good engagement and support. So feel free to take advantage of the Sanity resources that are out there in the community. Looks like Dardub is saying because usage example for block content. Oh, shows fetching data. You thought that
that's a good point.
Was fetching data. Yep.
I've made a bunch of demos on Code Sandbox as well. So we should like be better about sharing those and so on.
Yeah.
And those just have like the JSON document, so no data fetching and stuff.
Yeah, that's really, it's such good feedback to hear people that see something for the first time. I just had a conversation with somebody about an Auth0 quick start of they got stuck, and I was trying to figure out why, and it was like, wow, I hadn't even thought about like this could be interpreted totally differently. Ken Jazzy said they've used the Code Sandbox examples. That's really sweet. And by the way, with me just doing some searches for stuff in preparation for streams, I came across several videos that you've done that were really good on YouTube as well, on the Sanity channel.
Yeah, that's true. I've done that.
Okay, so I don't know, like maybe.
Yeah, so I shared my like code component that uses something called React Syntax Highlighter to get these like sweet code highlighted things, which is really neat when you have a developer blog. So it's not a lot of code, but
so you need.
So you actually just need
this package.
that one. Yeah.
Okay.
And here I'm not sure about the performance hit and so on, but yeah, we can do optimizations later, right?
Yep. And I'm wondering, I can't remember what I have used. So Gatsby remark VS Code, is that what I was using?
That's probably.
I was using that at some point. And I think I might skip. I'm going to hold on to your thing here. I want to make sure that I know later on what I'm already using and to make sure I do this effectively. But I'm going to hold on to this to potentially use and then see if I can figure out what I've got going on and then see what the VS Code one is. Because one of the things that someone was telling me with the VS Code one is that I don't know if I realized this. You can use themes inside of it, like as a property for it, and it will highlight your code in your same theme or in the theme that you choose, like a VS Code theme. So I want to take advantage of that. I just need to go back and see how that works and what I've got going on.
Yeah.
Because people, it's funny, like one of the most common questions I get on my YouTube channel is what theme do you use in VS Code? And for what it's worth,
Cobalt 2.
Yes.
Right?
By Wes Boss. Yep. And so I'm like, Cobalt 2 by Wes Boss. Go figure it out from him. Okay, but that's great though. So now I'm able, like, one, from a migration standpoint, at this point I could be totally done with my migration and be good to go because, well, actually no, one thing, we got to do the images. But everything else is working because I'd already set up all of these with Markdown. Now all of my, I don't know why that just refreshed. I guess that had been a page refresh. Like all of these should still work the same way they had. I get that. Look at that face. And all of my images and stuff are in here. Sweet. Okay. So yeah, the last thing that I want to get to is just the serializer for that image. And that'll be like, I've got some other stuff to clean up and then like some deployment stuff that I want to figure out, but that's the main thing that I want to get done to make sure that I feel good to go. So where would I start with defining the serializer for the image thing that we created? And again, just so people see, this was a My Awesome Image, a custom component. And we did that so that we could add a property like the alt string and added some validation to it to make sure it's required. And that is the component that is inside of the block content, one of those custom things that's inside of block content. All right. So yeah, I'll point me in the right direction.
So now we know that we will have a block type called my awesome image.
I think so. The beauty of doing demos.
Yeah.
My awesome image.
So the name will be the name of the block type. So if you go back to the serializer, actually don't do anything and insert an image in a blog post and let's see what happens, because that's a learning experience.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Let me grab, so from my deployed version, which one of these has an image? I think this one does. And I'm trying to find one that has like little amount of code too.
With Portable, so you can actually just query for that. Give me a post with an image.
Oh, true. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't have all that set up because I haven't used portable text for all of them. So I don't quite get that.
But you could also just insert one into the post that you had.
I was thinking about that. I just didn't necessarily want to. All right, I'll do that because I didn't necessarily want to add it if it wasn't going to be there.
Oh.
Anyway, I'll go back and clean it up. Okay, so inside, there's my beautiful face again. I'm going to close that. Sanity.io homepage if you need that. Have that up to share as well. And then back in the Sanity Studio for this post, open in full screen. And now just at the top to make sure, or hope to make sure that I don't forget this. And actually maybe one of the things that I need to do is get like a default, just standard image for blog posts that don't have, that I haven't made like a really custom thumbnail for. Like I make custom thumbnails for YouTube. For my smaller articles, I don't do that. So I need just like just a very basic template. And anyway, so at some point I will have that. Let's see what image I have handy. I can grab one of the Twitch images. So this is the new coming soon. Oh, I can't just drag it out there. I need to add my awesome image. And then now I can drag that image over there. Coding Cactus says, what's going on? Let me know if that's just like a hello or if you like want some context as to what we're working on. Let me know and I'll try to clarify for you. But regardless, welcome to the stream. All right, so this is good context. Sanity IO, using it as a headless CMS for a Gatsby project. And then getting into the weeds a little bit, migrating from Markdown to using Sanity, converting from the Markdown stuff to Sanity portable text, which will give us lots of control over how we display things in React. So now we're working on testing. Are we able to display images correctly? Or do we then need to create the specific serializer, which I'm assuming we do, but this will be the learning experience of like what happens if we don't have that. Let me know if that helps with the context there. And what? Oh, okay. So one of the things I forgot, since we created this custom type, this has to have a property for alternate text.
I really want you to put in that setting about lifting this field out to the model that you had first.
Oh yeah, is that something we can do quickly?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, let's do it. Okay.
If you go to the schema definition for that image.
All right, schema here.
And for the fields, so for the alt field at least, you can say options.
Options. Object.
Yes. Is highlighted true.
Is highlighted true.
Perfect.
Okay. And back in here, I can come down and edit again. Coding Cactus says that's some serious stuff. Let me know your background, and that might be like, I don't know what your background is, so that might be a lot, and you may not have any idea what some of those things are. So if I can help clarify some of them, because I obviously gave you the pretty brief overview, let me know, and I will do that. Sweet. Okay. Easy. So dummy image alt text is here. Sweet. That'll work. Close this out. I don't think I need to close it out again, but that should be done. That should be in a draft. And if we come back to our blog and open up that page, we see nothing.
Which, you are on production now, so you.
Guess you have to go local. Fair enough. Yep. I'm going to get rid of that page just in case. And now I'll come to non-production. And does it actually throw an error? Okay, so it's probably going to say, I don't know what to do with this thing.
Yeah. So if you scroll, so unknown block type, my awesome image, please specify a serializer for it. So it actually breaks your build if you don't have a serializer for it. And we are talking about changing that so that you only get a warning and not just breakage, because it's a bit confusing if you're learning this. It's like, what is going on? It's sort of nice, like actually, but not if you're in like the learning phase.
Fair enough.
So it may be an opting thing.
And I'm kind of stubbing it out as we say this.
Yeah. Could we actually just print the data that you get? With the old pre-JSON trick, or bug?
Sure. So you want to do
perhaps the console log is easier, but
okay, I can console log. So you just want, what do you want to see specifically?
So the props for the main my awesome image. So in the serializer.
Here. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So inside of here, we would need to say this is a function.
Do you know the Vespos trick?
The JSON one?
Or so you can between the arrow and the parentheses, if you write console log.
Oh, and then and
or because console log returns undefined.
Yep.
So it's kind of a neat thing if you don't want to like use brackets.
And this is a similar thing to the current conversation, right? Because like now, I don't even call console log. I just tell it this is the function that.
Yeah. But what you could also do is just console log props and then or like a double pipe and then the whatever component that you want. Because console log actually returns undefined, so it will fall back on the next thing.
Okay.
So you will get both things, which is kind of neat. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't think about that. Makes sense though, because in like the JavaScript console, when I log something, or when it returns undefined. Okay. So that's what you're saying. So go ahead and do like console log of props, and I'm like. Otherwise, I'm just double checking myself. Could I have done?
I think you can do that as well.
Oops, this.
Yeah, I think so.
So that won't render anything. That will straight up just log it. And because it's a function, this is basically a function that takes a property that tells what to log, and that would be props.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that if it returned more arguments, it will sort of not be correct. Yeah, it seems there's some.
so you have to actually render something. That's fair because it's supposed to
Yeah,
be. It's not just a function. It's supposed to be a functional component, so it has to return
yeah,
something. So that's fair. But so inside of here, what did you want to look at specifically?
yeah. So if you take Node and so here we have like the alt text that you see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the type, and then you also have something called asset,
Oh wow.
and here's all the information about the image. So we can go into metadata. That's a hard word to say. Metadata.
Metadata. Yep.
So there you have like a low quality image placeholder, base64 string. You have the color profile. You have the dimensions. If it has an alpha channel, all sort of stuff that
Hmm.
can be useful. So
Wow.
if you want to have like a title overlay on your image, you can use this to color that title, so you have the contrast and so on.
Crazy. So a little bit of devil's advocate here. You mentioned earlier you're just spitting out that whole in the raw JSON content thing.
Yeah,
You're doing the whole JSON object. So we maybe in the future we would have control over querying exactly which one of these properties we needed.
yeah. So
Okay.
we want to make portable text like fully compatible with
Mm-hmm.
GraphQL, so you can like pick fields.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it actually matters in what is built in the end. But yeah,
Well, it would. So in the case of just like how much, I guess it's just how much stuff is in memory, really.
yeah,
It would be less if you only had a certain. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm just kind of bringing up what.
yeah. But it's a good point,
Yeah.
especially if you have a lot of references and so on.
Okay. So what? So inside of this thing, I have the node. I have the alt, so I can grab that. And then under asset, under asset and then metadata, which one of these would you be looking to use?
Yeah, so this was just like to show what's going on under the hood, but I think we can actually use Gatsby image if you prefer that.
Sweet. Okay.
And then we have to confer with the documentation
Okay.
because I don't use I don't do this thing in Gatsby all that much in between all the other things. So if you go to the source plugin documentation, we have a recipe for
Sanity, source,
doing that.
plugin, Gatsby. Oh, probably on the Gatsby page.
I think it should be kind of the
It
same.
might be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Either way. Gosh. It
What is
keeps like
happening?
as I go to click, it then loads this piece people always search for and made me click on the wrong thing, which is really annoying. And then I can.
So using images and usage outside of GraphQL, because you don't do it in a GraphQL query now.
Okay.
You have to deal with the data that comes out of the JSON blob. So if you scroll a bit down,
Outside
here
of.
you have the recipe for actually doing it.
Okay. So let me see what I've already got in here. Well, one, we need to go ahead and start to sub this out. So props and then that. So this is the thing that we want to render. Then I've already got Gatsby image imported in here. And I also want these two thingies. I'm going to put this up by image. So get fluid Gatsby image and get fixed Gatsby image. I want fluid and is this thing doing? I don't need. I don't
Yeah,
need the.
so you need a sanity config because what this is doing actually is to build a URL to the image on our CDN, right?
Okay.
So you will need to pass the sanity config to it.
I'm just gonna create this in here for now.
And you could
But
probably import that from wherever it is actually
oh, not this one.
set, but yeah.
Config. I don't know if I put it in. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one.
Yeah, so just for the sake of it, just you can just copy paste it from here,
Yeah.
and then you could like abstract it later.
Yep.
I don't think they will change anytime soon.
Paste that in there. So that's going to be
And I
configuration
think that's
stuff.
it. And the rest of it is in the props that you are passing. So the
Okay.
image asset ID, it's like in the props.
Image. Okay. All right. So we want to build the thing like this.
Yeah.
So this will be inside of our actual functions. Or no, this is
That will be
for
inside actually the serializer function.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And then because of
So
that,
you,
we can start this with just a regular function and do something like that.
yeah.
And we need to pass the
I think the props will be props.asset. Yeah, node. Yeah, of course, node dot asset. Yeah, and I think that's it. I think it understands the object that comes in.
Oh, just asset, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So just node.asset. Max width, that works. Sanity config is above. And then we actually want to render this thing, which will be this part. So then we just render it using Gatsby image. So return. And I'm curious if people, like, is this really clicking with people that these serializers are just literally like functional components in React? It's really, really cool what's going on here. And I'm wondering if that has clicked with people that have maybe used it before, maybe not thought about it, or you're just kind of watching here and learning about it. I'm wondering if that's clicked because that's really neat, I think. Okay. Save. Try it out. Fingers crossed. I need like sound effect, like drum roll and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's try to refresh. Oh, there's the image. Yeah, that one. And what I want to do, and people actually maybe this will be a good one. Let's do a network test, and let's Code Stacker's saying gonna have to play around with it himself. Fair enough. Yeah, there's a lot to it. But after I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable, and it just makes me more and more excited about it. If I do this may be like a lot of stuff going on, but if I do a slow 3G and refresh my page, which maybe that's like slower than I want it to be, what we should see that Gatsby image is doing, if it's working correctly, well, I couldn't tell. It just kind of got it. Maybe
it may have been cached, but
yeah.
You can perhaps, if you go to the image in the network tab, you can actually maybe see what's going on.
Which one?
There it is, I think. And look at the headers. So at least what you're seeing is that there you can see sort of the URL and the transformation parameters. And you can also see that we return a WebP version because the asset pipeline, if the browser supports WebP, which is a better compression for images, it will like just return that automatically.
And then it's saying in here from memory cache.
Yeah.
What is like Command Shift R, like a hard
Yeah.
refresh? Will that do it?
I think so.
Okay, let's try. So slow 3G network with a hard refresh. It takes a lot longer. And let's see if we can show these images loading in.
So
didn't it just make you think like, man, things must have sucked back in like slow 3G days?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
To be serious, this is actually the experience of many web users. Like they don't have like great networks and great devices. So it's actually kind of instructive.
Yeah. Especially, and I don't know a whole lot about like optimization of sites, like down to a pretty detailed. I'm not very detailed in my stuff. Like I use Gatsby and I don't worry about a whole lot. I'm surprised it's taking this long though.
it's a bit of controversy because and it seems like it's too fast. Yeah. So what you hope to show is that it will like use the low quality placeholder first, right?
Yep.
Um,
It's also a lot harder to see that when I'm using an image that is not a dark background.
yeah, I can share with you a demo that shows that, and
I'm
it will
gonna
also be a bit about.
go ahead.
Let's see. So way back when I was a young developer advocate, I wrote a blog on CSS tricks about the pipeline and what you can do. And inside of that blog, there's a demo. It's
Cool.
not Gatsby, but it's the same
Okay.
mechanism. Yeah.
And by the way, for people who are watching, now that I've got a solid background color, you can see this blur in. You can see both of them actually blur in, which is
Yeah.
insanely cool. So that's working and that's beautiful. And that's what it's probably a lack of like knowing how, but I hadn't optimized my blog in with embedded Markdown. Actually, no, I had. They were using. Did they use? I don't know if the embedded images use Gatsby image, unless it took care of that for me. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. I don't think I did anything in particular for it.
They were like just direct URLs or like.
They were inside of the Markdown embedded Markdown. It was a local reference to the file, actually, or to the image.
I think this remark,
Maybe
like these remark things, does
that already for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I think you're right, actually. 5 interesting ways to use Sanity for image art direction. Grab the palette. That's a really cool thing. That's really cool. Grab low quality image holders. Nice. Image transforms.
Yeah, so this is a pretty large image.
Yeah.
And you can also like transform SVGs to bitmaps, which is also kind of nice if you want to use it in open graph images and so on.
Okay.
That doesn't support SVGs.
Crop and
We have to,
scale.
yeah.
This
This
is
is a
one
bit of
we.
a bummer because that's not compatible with the Gatsby image yet.
So you had mentioned that before, and for me, I'm not worried about it because
Yeah.
most of my stuff's going to be pretty centered anyway, so I'm not worried about it like getting the wrong spot. But that is just in general, a really cool feature in Sanity of the hotspot of like when you resize, make sure that you resize and focus on the specific area.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Real-time photo map.
Does that even work anymore?
I don't know. I was gonna try it. Trying to run it. Loading.
It's also a bit of React, I guess. But
okay. And we don't have to wait too long for that. One for feedback. Ken Jazzy says that they were afraid of serializers until needed to use them. Now kind of love them. That's really good. I think that's again like my initial reaction was like I don't know what all this stuff is, but at the end of the day, like the stuff we did was really simple in terms of like these basic serializers. I get to take advantage of Gatsby image, which is really nice, and then I could do a lot of other fancy stuff with all those different properties, and I could create multiple different types of custom things if I wanted something custom to embed right there inside of my post. Which one of the things I thought about in the past was I had no way with regular Markdown to embed like a call out of some sort to say like halfway through the article, like unless I did some hacky JavaScript stuff, but to say like, all right, now check out my newsletter if you want that kind of stuff. This is a good opportunity to do that sort of stuff too.
Yeah. And it's tempting to just do it, right?
Yep. And another rats, I forgot what I was going to say. There was like another aspect of that conversation, but anyway, we can kind of skip over it.
Yeah, what I did like yesterday was like to add linked headers on my blog, so that you can like send people directly to a header within a blog post, because some of my blog posts tend to be a little long.
Gotcha. That's cool. Yeah, that would actually be, I think, one that would make sense as well. What's your blog, by the way?
it's knutmjelvær.no.
You can
So
type it
it's
in the chat if you want to, and I'll open it up.
yeah, exactly. It's like every time I try to like pitch or like it's I should have a new domain, I guess.
And while we're doing that, I'm gonna make sure to get rid of this image, which I guess I can just delete button. Yeah, delete there and get rid of it. And so now that thing, like if you notice, you probably didn't even see there was like a refresh here, and now that thing is gone from my image, or that image is gone from this post. Cool. So I'm probably like I'll probably convert over some of the easiest posts, but I don't even have to do all of them because I've already got them in the Markdown, and that works fine. And so I can just kind of like archive those, and I can go forward with everything that we got in the portable text going forward. That's exactly what I wanted to accomplish. I also have I've got 30 minutes before another call that I have to get on, and I want to have time to eat a little bit and relax a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. But just as a recap from my perspective, all the progress that we made so far was leading to the point of like taking content out of Sanity, using portable text, creating custom types for portable text, and then taking that, querying it in GraphQL and Gatsby, and then translating that with serializers into something that allows us to display it as HTML in our site. And the only serializers that we had to do, the only custom things that we had to do was for the code here and the image. And like, obviously that's pretty straightforward. So what that is telling it is anytime this thing down here, the block content tries to render for any given type, either it's a built-in type or it's one of the custom ones that we, custom serializers that we define of here's how you translate this to React. And anyway, I think that's like really, really cool. I've had a blast working on this migration. I think there's just several things about my site that are more exciting for me personally. From the user perspective, they probably don't matter that much, but I'm much more excited to like create content and have store different types of content there. And I've got different ideas for that. And I'm overly excited. It's been a real pleasure to have you and the rest of like different people on the Gatsby team, or not Gatsby, Sanity team, to chime in with support and then obviously come on the streams and stuff. Any last thing you want to shout out or just kind of say before we wrap up and finish?
Sure, I posted like a bunch of links in the chat. The last one is like there's a plugin for Gatsby that takes the portable text and gives you reading time and excerpt in the GraphQL layer, which is kind of nice. You can also of course, do that yourself by transversing the arrays, but who has time for that? So that's a kind of like nice touch, but yeah, it's super exciting to be here and super fun to go through this stuff, and I'm glad we did it.
Yeah,
I was kind of nervous.
Well, I mean, I would say this worked out like for me in a migration. It couldn't have been a better way to get like the content in terms of like the streams and to get engagement from Sanity, for me to build relationships with you and just like casually a couple of people on the team has been really great. Got your blog up here. The portable or the legible time to read or whatever. That's something that's actually been in my backlog. I just haven't done on my article. So this will be a good reason for me to go ahead and do that. Dardub says thanks. Thank you for being here. Thanks everyone else that was here as well. This has been like a second stream of the day, and then I've got 2 more like tomorrow and Friday. So I'm going to be a little worn out voice wise, I think, on Saturday, but I enjoy it. Last shout out to all of my stuff. If you're interested, JamesQQuick.com. And then Auth0, I definitely want to continue to push people towards that channel as we get ready to do a lot more content on there. We have Gatsby joining May 5th. That's a huge one. I need to update this to actually advertise that in the title bar here. I might actually do that in a second, but go ahead and follow the Auth0 channel as well. And I will hope to see you in some of those streams. I think there'll be some really good content. And then I will be back tomorrow and Friday for streams as well. So I'll post about it on Twitter and on my, not speaking, but streaming page on my site. You can go and see the details of those too. So anyway, just last wrap up. Thanks again for being here. Thanks to Sanity for all of their engagement and for being just an overall amazing product. I always forget to do this. I'm going to raid over to Robert Tables, who was in my stream earlier. I'm going to raid everybody over there, and we'll just go ahead and call it a day. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks Canute for joining me, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See ya. Bye, everyone.
Raid Robert Table.